Hello, everybody, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 415. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, not alongside Johnny V tonight.
No, not physically,
I got
but
my
you're
own
here.
room.
You're here in my heart, Terry. You're here in my heart.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
I
you
am. Well,
you are 45 years old now. 44. You just had a birthday.
44.
You're 44
Yes.
years old. Happy birthday, Terry. We went out for dinner this couple days ago and to celebrate with some family and friends, and it was a good Smashbox time.
Yeah, and I can't thank everyone enough for the copious amounts of messages and kind words that came through on many different social media platforms. I very much was feeling the love, and I appreciate each and every one of you for sending me something. The one clarification I'll make is Jennifer Allen very graciously said happy birthday, put up a picture that included a handful of FPO players because I was in fact here at the Ledgestone a few years ago on my birthday, filming them on my birthday. And then we had a picture afterwards. It was great. I appreciate it. But she posted it on the 5th. And then that kind of like recycled everything. And my birthday's on the 4th.
Mm-hmm.
So then there was a whole flood of them. And I appreciate it. Even if it's late, it doesn't matter. But just as a clarification, when she posted it, that brought in a whole nother flood. So I genuinely appreciate everyone. Thank you so much.
And not to derail the podcast right away, today is a birthday of sorts, Terry. 35.
It is.
35. Do you know what turned 35 today? It's one of your favorite
35?
things. One of your favorite things turned 35 today.
Wow. Is it have to do with food or beverage?
Nope.
Oh, then it would have to be, well, 2000, it would have to be, is it the anniversary of some sporting event? 2007?
Not quite, Terry. All right, are you ready, Terry?
No, oh my God, not 2007. I'm an idiot. Hold on. Let me think of what year was it?
Well, it's 35, so figure you were 9 years old.
87? 87.
All right, I'm gonna flash something up on the screen.
Something. Oh, I'm gonna guess the Cubs. Oh no. Okay. DJ Easy Rock and Rob Bass, perhaps was it an It Takes Two release
today, 35 years ago? No, wait, maybe it's 34. I think it's 35 is what I saw. I don't know. Either way, 35 years ago. Today is the anniversary of the release of the album and the song "It Takes Two." So I'm just saying. It's been
DJ Easy Rock and Rob Bass. Yes,
that's correct.
It takes two to make a thing go right. Yes.
One of your favorites. I know that.
Certainly is. Usually now it's gotten so old that when it's requested out at a bar or dance club or something like that, people really have no idea what it's from. So until it makes like some kind of official surge on TikTok, I don't know that I think that's maybe been in a commercial or two, but
I'm sure
until it makes an official surge that way, I don't know if we're going to see it ever come back to any official popularity, but nonetheless, good to see in here.
That's right. I did listen to it today, just for old time's sake.
That seems wildly appropriate. All right. Well, let's I'm going to see if I can get logged in here. Sorry, I'm just getting all caught up on the YouTube chats. So real quick, this wasn't actually originally intended, but I will quickly say, for starters, there's a couple things here I'll unpack. For starters, I want to thank Natalie Ryan again for joining us last week. We certainly understand that some of you are very, very, everyone has really strong opinions. And again, that's all fine. Some people handle conversing with those opinions and their stance and their research. Everybody has a different stance. I'm all good with that. We appreciate, the world appreciates when you can come in with a level mind and a level head and have, I think, conversation. I will continue to say, which very much consumed a lot of my time last week, that I still very much do believe we can argue about policy more so than the person, and we can do that about maybe even Niko Locastro in
I
a
said there
moment
would be
as
some
well.
policy arguments tonight.
So absolutely, but that's what I wanted to say, and with that very specifically, I would like to say I got fired up at a particular group last week who I may not agree with everything they do or say, or maybe the ways they go about some of the things, but I incorrectly associated them with something else nasty that was posted on one of the social media platforms. And so, in doing so, by incorrectly associating them, I was inaccurate. I take full blame for that. I'm totally good with. First of all, I apologize, and I take all the blame for that. Whether or not the person that said the nasty things was working singularly and is part of that group or not, you can understand where I got a little confused. But I attacked the group and or was frustrated with the group when really it was an individual that had posted something. So I do want to be clear. I have no problem admitting faults. A lot of people don't think like we're so stubborn or pigheaded. I admit I'm wrong all the time. I've got no problems admitting when I'm wrong or when I need to apologize. So I did want to just quickly get that in there. Now that I think about it,
You're used to
but
it
my
with me.
main takeaway,
You're used to
yeah,
it with me. I
yeah,
get it.
I know. I'm so used to being wrong with you. But I will double down just simply on the fact that I do think so much of the rules and policies and regulations and frustrations and triumphs and tribulations, whatever you call it, everywhere you categorize all of the conversation is usually specifically around our transgender athletes. I still will stand steadfast that we need to discuss policy. Excuse me, policy is where we can get mad and frustrated more so and entirely versus the actual person. And it's so funny too, because with that, a lot of people have assumed a ton of things about what both you and I think. And simply by having any guest, whether it's Natalie or someone that maybe vehemently opposes what the entire conversation about transgender athletes in disc golf, people just automatically assume what your and I position is, and I find that also kind of funny. And I guess that's just part of the role playing a host, and it is what it is. But I very much am all about. I'm about science. I was about science when we had a COVID conversation, and I'm all about science now. And I'm also very much all about discussing the policy and how we all move forward together. So enough of all that, but I did want to make sure I got that out there. And we'll talk about that in a moment with what we saw with regard to Niko. And I see somebody asking something about Brody
We'll talk
on the
about that
board.
later too. That's all in that all. It's
Oh,
all
okay, that's
involved in the
something
Nico thing.
unrelated. Okay, I
Well,
was gonna say I
it's
there was a
tangentially
mass.
related. Tangentially related.
Okay, well there was a big party, and I'm gonna bust them out now. There was a big old party at Culver's today. Saw a world champ, saw multiple time winner Kelvin Heimberg, saw pickleball superstars Madison Walker and Zach Melton. Brody Smith was there. It was quite a party. I will say this,
There
and
ain't
maybe
many.
by no surprise.
There ain't many places to go in that city, Terry.
Well, they were getting done. I had played elsewhere with Tom McManus, and we just happened to go there. And then one by one, all those guys had filtered in. And I, even though they just got done, I think doing a doubles matchup with Brody and Ezra. Out of all the people that were involved, somehow Ezra lost his way to Culver's. He's skipping Custard Day. That's a day you can't skip if you're familiar with Culver's, but no Ezra to be found. So he's sticking true to his roots. He keeps it way too healthy,
I don't think they
or an
serve
appropriate amount of
beans.
healthy. All right. So let's jump into it. Real quickly, I do want to say I did reach out to Alden Harris, who crazy and said would not necessarily work for him. And I said, well, just win again, and it makes it a no-brainer for us to have you. So congratulations to Alden Harris. We'll break that down in a moment. And then I reached out to Sarah Holcomb, and her and I have played a little bit of phone tag. Yes, I have the right number, but we've played a little bit of phone tag. And if she's around and wants to reach out and can still join me, she's more than welcome to join us. I know she's camping, so usually that adds in an extra hurdle or two internet wise. So that's what I wanted to make sure everybody knew in terms of our Mid America. So Johnny, why don't you lead us off with some Mid America conversation? You paid more attention to it than I did.
Just barely.
I hope.
No, I did the broadcast switching for the Silver Series. I don't normally do that, but due to some issues earlier in the season, I had to switch some schedules around. That I was excited at first to do the Mid America Open until it got a little bit drug on a little bit. But another thing we'll talk about later. Anyway, let's start with the FPO, the division that didn't drag on. As you said, Sarah Hokum was our winner. I believe it was 14 years. She won her first FPO event at this course. Oh, maybe not at this course. At the Mid America Open, we'll say. At this event, 14 years prior. And she comes out and wins this one here by 5 strokes over Kat Murch. It wasn't extremely close. Not gonna lie. With about 6 or 7 holes to go, Sarah Hokum kind of strolled this one in. She was, no one seemed to be able to catch her. She had a couple of really good rounds. She shot, the best round of the afternoon on the final. No, I'm sorry, second best behind Juliana Korver, who shot an even, and Deanne Carey, I think. So, Sarah Hokum, congratulations, winning this weekend over Kat Murch. Natalie Ryan, who we just talked about, tied for third with Jessica Weiss. In 5th place was Holland Hanley and Alex Benson. Remember, this is a Silver Series, so some of these names you don't normally hear us talk about in the top 10. 7th place, Juliana Korver, Stacy Haas, and Stephanie Vincent. So congratulations. And rounding out your top 10, Deanne Diesel Carey and Stacy Ronsley. So congratulations to our top 10 FPO finishers. Yeah, it wasn't that exciting. Only because Sarah Hokum kind of wrapped it up. She played some good golf. She was not. I believe she was tied for first after the first round with Alex Benson and Jessica Weiss. No, I'm sorry. Stacey Ronsley had them by 1, if I remember correctly. I looked at all this before the broadcast started, so I had a general idea of what was going on. Second round, Sarah Hokum. She shot a 1 down with Holland Hanley and Juliana Korver. Stephanie Vincent and Stacey Haas both had -2 downs, but they were further down the board. It was tougher for them to move up. Sarah Hokum just had 3 very consistent rounds, was able to kind of walk it in. Not much to say about the event in the Silver Series.
Yeah, and real quick, I'm just seeing when it looked like a 5-stroke advantage for Hokum over Kat going into the 3rd round. But then after the first 3 holes,
Sarah Hokum did make it kind of interesting in the beginning because she went like double, single.
She gave 4 strokes.
She did. She did give 4 strokes, which I believe only had her up by 1 or even tied.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just played very consistent, got some birdies while Kat Murch got bogeys. And then by the last I'd say 5 holes, it was wrapped up again. Like it was Sarah Hokum's event to give up. She gave it up. She took it back, and she strolled in for the victory.
All right.
Yes.
Well,
Sarah had a rough start, but
okay. Well, I was gonna say because she had a 5-stroke lead that looked like it got down to 1 after 3 holes, but you said it was walking it in. It didn't seem that way, but
she did walk it in.
Eventually, she must have. Yes.
So, I mean, anyway, the way she played, it was just very consistent through the middle. It was nothing flashy. It was nothing. She had a couple, good shots, a couple of really good putts, but ultimately, Kat Murch just couldn't keep up with her, and they kind of just slowly drifted apart, like many of your relationships, Terry.
Mm-hmm. That's what they do.
It was just
come sail away.
Come sail away. So that was the FPO division. The MPO division, as you said, Alden Harris takes this one with a 26 under par over Chris Clemens and Gannon Burr's 24 under. This one actually was exciting right up to the end. I mean, if you stuck around to the end, it was exciting. Anthony Barella with a 23 under. Anthony had a tough middle section of the course, just couldn't Unfortunately, couldn't keep it. You know, he Anthony Barella'd. I mean, he had a
Okay,
couple
couldn't keep
straight
it.
couple stray shots, couple stray putts, but ultimately, he was at 23 in fourth. Kyle Klein was in fifth place, tied for sixth with Andrew Presnell and Kevin Kiefer. Eighth place was Gossage and Gibson, and 10th place was Hebenheimer and Connor O'Reilly. Connor O'Reilly had a very difficult final round. He was on the lead card going into that final round, right in it with everybody else. Ends up shooting an even par, and dropping 9 places. Had he been able to just kind of keep up with everybody else on that card by shooting 8s, 7s, 8s, 9s, he would have been right up there as a contender. Unfortunately, just nothing was going his way. A lot of snow. As that course can do to you, it's not an easy course. There are a lot of places to get in trouble, and he found a lot of them. So that was Connor's day. But ultimately, Alden Harris, some very good, consistent shooting, looked really good, and at the end gave he had a bogey on 17, which kind of let Gannon and Chris Clemens back into it when it felt like at one point, I think in the control room, I said, okay, he's got 4 holes to go. Most of them are birdie holes. All he has to do is get to 1 under par, and he should be able to walk this one in. And ultimately, I think he went birdie, and then he took a bogey, which I was like, ooh, he's got to kind of get at least a par on that last hole now, which he ended up birdieing it and winning by 2. So that was Alden Harris. Gannon Buhr made a really good run at it, but just unfortunately couldn't get it. Chris Clemens was on the chase card, so there was some really cool shots of him waiting to see what happened. We actually watched him watching the Disc Golf Network on hole 18, which was kind of a really cool shot. And once Alden Harris more or less pured the drive on 18, it was over for Chris. Gannon could possibly have still made a run at it with a huge eagle, a throw-in eagle, or a birdie and a par from Harris, but he couldn't do it. He just, unfortunately, Gannon ended up getting the par as well. So Alden Harris walks this one in for his biggest victory of the season and probably his career, the Silver Series event.
Congratulations, of course, to Alden. And I was just looking, saw that he was 100% C1X in round 3, 100% C1X in round 2, and 98% C1X in round 1, which is incredible. And then I look at it and I look if he was 5th on the weekend with 97% C1X putts. I mean, that tells me just every single person was just, not every single, but tons of people were putting lights out. Sorry, he was 88%. That makes way more sense from round 1. But he was 88, 100, and 100.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And that gets you 5th in putting for the weekend.
5th. It's the last few
incredible.
events, it's really felt like you need to be putting from 97 to 100% if you want to get that top 5, because with guys out there like Ellis and Alden Harris and Gannon Buhr, it's very, very difficult to miss some putts. It really is. These guys are all putting almost 100% inside the circle. UDisc, I'll throw in the UDisc stats. Those are always a little bit squishy, but as we know, they're pretty accurate.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a discrepancy. They'll never be perfect, and that's week in and week out. And because they just can't be. You're going to occasionally have someone doing UDisc that is looking at Alden Harris from 22 feet away, but just barely can't see if he's inside or outside the whisker or a painted line. And so they incorrectly mark it clearly without any kind of maliciousness. They mark it and it happened to be wrong and whatever. I mean, and that's no fault to the UDiscers and the volunteers that are out there. It's just they're not completely perfect. But you got to figure they're not completely perfect every weekend. So when it's all said and done. Some weekends, I think we go to some places and you have pretty generous scorekeepers, and some weekends they might be a little tighter. I mean, it all probably evens out. It is what it is. Carney says, I did UDisc once, never again.
And
So,
I'm not going to lie, we get mad in the control room when the UDisc scores are slow or, I mean, not so much inaccurate as far as
yeah.
circles and fairways and stuff, but they need to be fast when it comes to the shot that they're on. They need to be fast as far as scores. Everything else
Yeah.
is, again,
And
a little washed, but
a huge shout out. I know that UDisc has been more, I'll say, capable, and I think they've been doing this for quite some time. It used to be almost a luxury where we went from one UDiscer per card. Now, on some of your most covered cards, they have two UDiscers. So they have someone at the throw and the catch. And that was kind of like almost a test case scenario, I want to say, at Worlds last year.
yeah.
And now it's become commonplace. So the person, granted 350 feet away on a blind, Anheuser, is going to be far more accurate than the person that was guessing that's standing next to the players on the tee. And so not only did the UDisc step up in terms of the capability and the possibilities for the two people to be scoring it, multiple people to be doing it at the same time, but then also the fact that we add a handful more volunteers every single event that are out there usually in the catch position. It's incredible. People that I know we kind of jokingly say or offer the tickets on Disc Golf Network, and we say go out and see it in person. Go out and see in person just for the behind the scenes. There's just so much more going on than probably you even realize when you're just watching it, or even when you're watching it in post or live. There's just more going on that you don't even realize, as opposed to being there in person. It's pretty incredible. So, okay, so let's quickly touch on, and I wrote this to you because I was doing stuff on Sunday as well, and I managed to go out and actually play casually. And when I did then look at scores, and I've always said this, I'm terrible if I'm not involved in a media perspective in any way, shape, or form with an event. I largely tune it out, and I had forgotten already that you were subbing in to do the show switching. And when I did look for some scores, and I think I literally just logged into Facebook, it had blown up. Like, just the massive amounts of conversation around time limits, and whether it was a complaint or it was a frustration or a suggestion or an amendment to the rule, whatever, that was the only thing that absolutely dominated the news cycle, like Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening.
That was the talk of the
Tell
event.
me, since I watched 0 minutes and 0 seconds, tell me what it was. I'll say what it was really like. What was the major concern and issue?
It was brutal. I'm not going to lie. It was, you had a couple compounding things. You had Conor O'Reilly shooting poorly. He shot an even. He was, there was a lot of looking for discs, a lot of off the fairway shots.
Okay.
And I believe the other one was Kevin Kiefer, who had a rough stretch in the middle as well, and it slowed a lot of things down. But then on top of that, you had two players who are not known to be quick. Alden Harris isn't necessarily the fastest player. He's not egregious, but he's particular. And then you had Gannon Burr, and I think Gannon has all the talent in the world, but he's egregiously slow. Period. No questions about it. Hands down. I'm sure he would admit to it. Everybody that's ever watched him play will admit to it. He is a very slow player. And there were multiple shots where he took over a minute. Or, you have, again, it was a combination of a lot of things. The end of the course, it was a lot of Gannon. The middle of the course, it was just kind of the struggle bus. The second card, finished the event, and the lead card still had, I believe, 6 holes to go. 5 or 6 holes to go. And no, granted, they had a 2-hole head start. So they picked up 4 holes on that card in the 18-hole stretch. It was not, there was never going to be a backup with us. We were never going to run into a backup. There was a backup on the second card at one point. I heard the cameraman say, "Hey, second card has like a one card backup or something like that on one of the holes." But not our card. I want to say we cruised later on, but we coasted right along is kind of the speed it felt like. And a lot of it has to do with Gannon. I hate to pin it on one person because I truly believe it's not all of him for this particular instance.
Of course not.
But a lot of it was. I'd go 65 to 70% was Gannon Burr.
Sure.
Being very meticulous.
So this is really nothing new. And I don't just say that of Gannon, of course. This is clearly becoming a lot more of a conversation. Again, if we're going to go with the idea of policy or even over the person, the policy or the rule of having 30 seconds. I openly complained just a few days ago about totally, well, related but unrelated, just to the range finding, and I'm all good with using range finders. That whole spiel. Just do it before it's your turn to throw, or do it within your 30 seconds. Are my solutions there, and they're very easy. Or don't use one. if it's going to slow your routine down and you just simply can't get it in, then you go back to yesteryear and you just simply don't use one. Anyway, Gannon's clearly not the only one that's guilty of this. No. And at the European Open, and I think this went largely under noticed or reported, was that, of course, Niko was put on the clock and warned. So was Chandler. Chandler Kramer was warned, I believe, on hole 7 as well.
Yes.
And so I know, whether that or not, that quiets anyone of saying, well, they were targeting Niko. You can only be so much of a target if you're always the one doing something, right? Or however you look at that. So I don't think I would never say that he's targeted. But if you're the one that does it the most, it's kind of easiest to notice. And Gannon's been warned before at last year's 2 Pro Tour Championships. I think there's been once or twice this year. We've talked about it on our podcast with him. I talked about it with him on the Nick and Matt show. I mean, this is a known thing. He knows of it. And earlier in the year, he said, "Yeah, I'm aware of it, and I'm trying to get quicker. I thought I was getting quicker." Apparently, I think Drew had posted saying he got warned in round 2, right, for it. And then Drew had said, yeah, it felt like he really picked it up and things were quicker at that point. But
I don't know about round 2.
That regressed.
Yeah.
I think that's what Drew had posted on Twitter, is that he had received a warning during round number 2. And he said, then he sped up. Everything was a lot quicker. It was great. And then obviously we saw that in round 3. So
just like Niko, I think Gannon truly doesn't probably realize the amount of time he's taking. Like when he gets up there, he has a routine and he doesn't realize that routine is so long. Like I believe the same thing about Niko. When Niko stands up there and he's pump faking and spinning the disc in his hand and pump faking, like you lose track of time because you're in, we'll call it in a zone. You're in a thought process. You're in a routine. I'm not saying it's acceptable, but I'm sure that's what's happening with Gannon. And it's not just the routine, although it is a lot of the routine. If you watch Gannon, he does the same thing on the tee box. He starts at the front, he takes a couple pumps, he takes one step back, takes a couple pumps, grabs his chalk bag, tosses it up, watches the powder, takes a step back, does a pump, tosses the bag on the ground, takes another step back, does a pump, picks up the bag, does a pump with his thing, drops it again, gets ready, and then finally goes. And unfortunately, walking back from that tee pad takes up a majority of your time. He needs to cut.
Even with those long legs.
Even
Just
with
think if he had short legs like me.
Oh, geez, I can't even imagine. He'd look really funny,
Yeah.
but
You'd just be pedaling around.
He needs to realize, and I think he will. I truly think he will, because now that the Niko incident has happened, I think that players like Gannon are going to have to make a change because they know it's coming. It's coming for them. It's just a matter of when. He's going to get warned again, and at some point he's going to get stroked. So I truly believe he will make an effort. He's young. I'll truly believe he make an effort to change his routine to speed things up. But I'm sure it's very difficult to do that in the middle of the season. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that if you're breaking the rule, you got to fix it soon. Because it was, as people were saying, they didn't want to watch the live broadcast. It was that slow.
That's what I largely saw. And when I saw the uproar, that's what it was saying is I couldn't handle it. I had to turn it off.
We had 5 holes where now we had to fill. Normally, the chase card gets done. We're on like 17, and we can easily fill a hole or two. When you have to fill 5 to 6 holes of slow golf, not even fast golf, slow golf, it's brutal. That at points we were saving like Gollum in his ring, his precious shots. We purposefully were holding back. The chase card was on like hole 17 or 18, and we were still showing shots from 15 and 16 because we knew the way things were going. We saw the spread happening. We knew we had to save those shots. So at one point, the commentators were just like, yeah, that's Chris Clemens' second birdie in a row, and we still haven't watched his first one. And we didn't care. We just kept showing shots because that's what we had to do. So honestly, it's not just obviously a rules violation on the course. That is bad. It also cascades into the media, the live media, the product that the Disc Golf Pro Tour is trying to put out. So the Disc Golf Pro Tour, I think, has to also look at this and take a step in and say, hey, we can't have this. We can't have this be our product. Something needs to be done. And if that is truly, as you say, targeting players, maybe that has to happen. Maybe.
I mean, I think targeting is just such a funny word that gets used. Like, are we watching it? Yeah, because you're an offender. Like,
correct. If you were a known offender, then I believe targeting is when you are looking for something that maybe isn't normally there. You know, if you were playing an event, Terry, and Jeff Spring said, I want an official to follow Terry and just nail him for anything he does, foot faults, missed putts, whatever. I think that's targeting. This is just, hey, you are a known offender. We are going to send an official with you. We are going to make sure that you obey the rules that are there that you are known to break. And so I don't believe it's targeting. It's a known offense. And I think that's what might have to happen to Gannon for a little while until he can push through it. And I truly believe he will. He's too good not to. He's too good of a player
and again, that's where it's funny because I almost want to. I feel like you can take Gannon out of this equation. He happens to be one of the most egregious offenders. You take his name out of the equation and insert literally any other name there. I feel obviously just the same about it.
Connor was slow. Alden was slow at times. I mean, and we've seen we've seen this kind of cascade now into what other players are suggesting. Germ put a big post out there suggesting like, 30 seconds for here, but maybe you get 2 extensions and this and that. And I keep thinking like, cool, sure, those are all great ideas. But if you're not calling someone at 30 seconds, you're not calling them at 45. This is not this is not a rules issue. This is a player issue, and ultimately I would say it's a 90% player
issue
and a 10% Disc Golf Pro Tour /PDGA issue that someone has to enforce the rules. If the players are not going to enforce the rules, which they should be, then somebody has to step up, whether it's the TD, whether it's the PDGA, whether it's the DGPT. And it's not like we can have, and like it or not, I know people say, well, if you're not enforcing the rules evenly when, you have an official following one card, too bad. We
Yeah,
see we see
I don't buy
advantages
that
and
either.
disadvantages of being on lead cards all the time. Terry, go find my
Yeah.
disc. Paige Pierce, circa
Yeah.
2022.
Like, and
That's the
yeah.
advantage you get when you have a huge crowd following you. You're never losing a disc because there will be somebody within 50 feet of that, 30 feet, 20 feet of that disc. The fifth card doesn't necessarily have that advantage. When they throw into the middle of the swag and the guy has to walk
Heck
all
no.
the way back up the hill to rethrow, these are just things that you have to deal with. So there are advantages. And guess what? If you're going to be on a featured card or you are a known offender, there's going to be disadvantages to maybe that. I think that
Sure.
we need to get through that. I'm all for changing rules if that's what the players want. I was thinking about it myself. I was like, sure, I could see everybody gets into some sticky situations on the course. You throw off the fairway and you're 13 or 15 feet inside a brush. You need to get in there, get your footing. There's almost no way it's going to take 30 seconds. You're going to go over that because you're going to get in there and then you're going to assess the situation and then you're probably going to come out and grab a disc if you didn't go in with some because maybe you didn't for some reason. But you're going to look at 2 or 3 different routes and maybe change your mind. I get it. It's going to take 45. It's going to take 50 seconds. Is it a penalty? Should it be called? Probably, but it's going to happen. And I wouldn't care if we change the rules that say, hey, guess what? You have 30 seconds if you're on the fairway. If you're off the fairway, if you're quote unquote obstructed, you get a minute. Something along those lines. And all you have to do is just confirm it with a player. Any player on your card. Like the players do with the 10-meter rule. Am I out? All they do is turn to a player and go, am I outside? And everyone goes, yeah, or no. You know, that's
Sure.
how it's played at most events because not every place has a wonderful ring or flags. If I just walk into a fairway, I go, I'm obstructed here. Am I cool? Someone goes, yeah, that's fine. You get a minute for this shot. I'm okay with that. But Gannon Burr on the 17th and 18th hole, he was in the middle of the fairway, and I think he took 2 minutes. I mean, and granted, these fairways, they've got some random trees in them. I think he took 2 minutes, and that is unacceptable.
Sure.
Everybody has leeway at certain instances, but so that's where it stands.
What's kind of crazy about this is, unfortunately, this has very much been a conversation piece for us, along with the rest of the disc golf community, for years, but more recently than ever. You think back to the Pro Tour Championships, you think back to just a few people, a few instances. It's been more of a conversation than ever before. And honestly, I feel like we're to a point where it's like it's talked about so much, something clearly has to be done, whatever that is. I don't know exactly what the solution is, but something has to be done because it is very much tainting a lot of the experiences for players, for spectators,
Media,
for media, for everybody. It's tainting the experience so much more. And not that the rule shouldn't have always been followed, because it should have been, but now it just feels like, and it's not just Gannon, and I will be the first to admit, it's not me. No, I'll be the first to admit I could easily put together a list of the next 10 slowest players. I'm not going to bother because it's not going to get us anywhere right now. But if anybody, if the PDGA or the DGPT needed my list, I've got not only footage to back it up, but just overall being out there long enough. We've got both MPO and FPO competitors that often break the 30 seconds, and I've said this in maybe my last piece on it will be, you take 29.99999 seconds on every single one of your 54 shots or 62 shots in a day. I don't care. I won't say a word. I want that to be very clear. I don't just love and want everyone to play fast. I just want you playing within that 30 seconds. And if that means 29 and a half on every hole, I'm still good with that. You won't even get a complaint out of me.
Mm-hmm.
It's the constant. It's not the once or twice around for the reason you explained. It's the 7, 8, 10, 12 times per round, every tournament, every weekend. Though that, again, if you think you got a target on your back, if you fit that description, then maybe you deserve it. So anyway, hopefully we'll get it fixed. I think, like you said, it largely relies though on an enforcement issue more than an actual rule change. What I'll say about everyone saying, well, 30 seconds doesn't feel like enough. It's been enough for the last 30 freaking years, like, or whenever the rule first got implemented. It sure seems like it. And it also feels like 98% of our players have no problem with it. So 30 seconds does seem like enough. And a lot of people talk about how golf does it. I had a very lengthy talk with Nate Doss about this months ago. And apparently the way golf handles it is they have a pace. And if you fall behind a certain pace overall for your group, you're not necessarily shot clocked on one specific shot. But in this case, when they were 5 holes behind, once they get, I don't know if it's 1.5 or 2 full holes behind the group in front of them, that's when an official will go to the group and basically, fire a warning shot and say, hey, pick it up, or the whole group is going to get penalized. That's how I've been explained that it works. I don't particularly, I think disc golf's way too different because you and I both know you can play 5 holes in 30 minutes. And then the last 3 holes on the course might take an hour and 10 minutes just by the nature of the hole. So I don't like the whole group pace mentality nearly as much, but
I think we have the ability.
That's what they do in golf.
With UDisc, we have the ability to see where backups are. We have the ability to see where groups are falling behind. I wouldn't have an issue if, let's just say, a group fell behind, an official shows up and says, hey guys, you guys are on the clock. And what that means is, I'm going to watch each of you. I don't think you can, I don't ever see a world where you penalize the entire card. But once that official shows up, that's basically your warning. Hey, I'm here. You have 30 seconds for your shots. And that's how it works. That official will follow you for X amount of holes, maybe whatever. And obviously this has, again, brought up the thing, people saying, well, the DGPT or someone, TD, needs to get 18 volunteers or paid people to enforce rules. It's just not realistic. You would need more than 18 because 1 per hole just wouldn't quite work. It's, as someone else said, then you get like the issue you have with umpires. X umpire, he doesn't really watch foot faults quite as much. And this guy, he might start his clock 10, 15, 20 seconds after everybody else. And it's going to become the foot fault rule again, where you have everybody online watching, oh no, he definitely took over 30 seconds. How come this official didn't catch that? He should have been penalized. Just like foot faults, where everyone's frame by framing it. And oh yeah, his foot definitely touched the grass. Is the grass considered a supporting point and blah, blah, blah? I don't think that's the answer. Every card has 4 officials. Every card has 4 officials on it. They're the players.
You got it. And just like a few have said out there, there's now officially a time limit on our talk about time limit. So we'll move on. My last point there, Primot or whatever. I do not agree with the idea of no cap limits at all. That the slower will just get slower. Mm-hmm. And I do not agree with that whatsoever. So, and if Climo managed to pick up 12 world titles and Elaine's got 5 and Juliana's got 5 and everybody else that's claimed all these world titles has somehow managed to do it within 30 seconds. We're playing for bigger money, but everything's just as important. Every stroke matters. And I don't think we need to slow things down anymore by having more time. All right, we're done. No more time on that.
The other thing at the Mid-America Open related to Gannon, and I don't want to harp on this too much, is once again we saw during the IDEO form breakdown, Gannon Burr had actually stepped over the end of the tee pad with his foot before he threw the disc. It was kind of funny because we didn't clearly pick that one because of that, but he stepped half of his foot approximately was over the edge of the tee pad as he threw. Technically, probably a foot fault. Happening in real time, it's very hard to tell if his foot was planted, he throws and it spins around, which we've seen before, or it landed down. That is a non-issue for me. We can't slow everything down to the microsecond. Calls are going to be missed. They're missed in every sport. That's just something you deal with. it doesn't seem to be a regular thing. That was a one-time incident from what I could tell, off the tee at least. A lot of guys foot fault in the fairway. It just happens. If the card isn't going to call it, I'm not super concerned about it. So we're going to move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Also, never mind. I was going to say also this weekend we started seeing some of the flex starts and other events that were taking place down here in the Peoria area. There was a flex start in Wisconsin that took place at Silver Lake. So just a big shout out to Nick and Juliana who hosted that and had a good weekend there. But there were a couple other sizable events I want to say that were taking place this weekend. Were there not, Johnny?
There might have been.
On at least 8 tiers. Well, let's talk about the women's global real quick. There was, and I say this all in positivity because I'm excited that it's happening and it's happening more often. It does feel like there was a little air let out of this one, and it, at least locally, it only seemed as if it was somehow timing related, in that it was being held in August as opposed to being held back in May. And clearly, if we polled 1,000 women, it would probably come out like 501 to one date and 499 to another. So there's never going to be perfect timing. I could think of 100 reasons why one time is better than the other, but none of those matter. So the women's global event was going on this weekend, and I'd like to quickly touch on that if I can find the link myself. I don't know if it's going to be super easy to find. I don't even remember how many. An easy way to find this? Anybody?
I don't know,
I think the PDGA probably, honestly, I think they put it on their front page. So I think I'm being silly and looking at the wrong one. While I look at that or look for that, we also saw the Great Lakes, the CCR, the A tier by the
yes.
CCR took place this last weekend. Scott Conway took down Michael Johansson, who then finished over
in a
Tim
playoff.
Barham and Noah Meinsma. Yep. And it was very tight, too. The top first, second, and third were all separated by a single stroke. And Andrew Mardweed finished in fifth. And on the FPO side, Christine Jennings with a significant margin of victory over Chantel Badinsky, who I believe comes down from Canada to play. Ashley Bauman and Jessica Oleski finished in third. I don't want to say very regional, but yeah, it was largely a regional FPO field. Obviously, Christine comes from Ohio, and it was held in Michigan. Just overall, I see a lot of Michigan women's names there, most of them near the top. So, congratulations to them. Sorry, I was going to back up, and then we also saw
the Silver Cup, which was an A tier.
Bowl.
Oh, I was going to say the Silver Cup was an A tier as
go
well.
ahead.
Up here in Manitowoc. Matt Bell comes up from I'm assuming driving through wherever he's going on the way to Ledgestone to take this one over Andrew Fish by 6 strokes. Close friend of ours. Scotty Bertard takes third, tied with CJ King and Kale Leviska. Andrew Brown and Dustin Keegan. A lot of ties for third there. 8th place, Tall Paul Oman. 9th place, Michael Gibson and Adrian Chevalier. Moving down to the Open Women, Jenny Umstead wins this one by a lot over Danae Strathman. So, in 3rd place, Corey Anderson. There's only 3. We'll shout out all 3 of them. Congratulations. Patrick Brown takes down Masters. I think he's won this before in Masters, maybe last year even. I'm not 100% sure. Over Shasta Christ and Sean Butler. So that is your
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little
Silver Cup.
Oh, here we go. Finally found it. I should have known this. All right. So the women's global overall, 3,260 women and 127 events. I'm glad I wasn't doing any guessing, but incredible. C. Hendel out of Canada took it down in the FPO division, averaging 972 on the weekend. The highest rated woman in the entire women's global uh, competition was Jennifer Allen at 957. And so what that really tells me, in addition to that, is there's 10, 20, 25, 10, maybe somewhere between 10 and 25 women that are rated above her that simply took the weekend off. And I only say that because I can quickly just search by rating. And a lot of our highest rated women took the weekend off and did just that. So congratulations to Sandy Hendel. And I feel like it's in pretty customary fashion that I do go through these. FP40, Sarah Cunningham, a world champion. She also averaged 972 golf. So congratulations to her. I'm going to keep on scrolling. Barrett White took down FP50. She did that in Wisconsin, averaging 931 golf. Congratulations. Sherry Herzog averaged 934 in the FP55. Camouflage Renicky Pam took it down in Florida with 919 golf on average. Sandy Gast with 896 took down FP65. FP70 was Tori Leppanen. Out of Finland, took that down. Congrats to her. FP70 Advanced Women, Hannah Lengel, 944 on her average. Scroll because there's quite a few advanced women. Holy cow, that was a huge division, 360 of them. Charlotte Christensen, FA40, average 950. I'm this far committed, Johnny. They're all coming in. FA50 now. Chris Gregg, if I could read. 880 golf. I'm going to keep on reading so they get the shout outs. FA55, Joy McNatt, averaged 889 golf. And I'm going to take a quick break. When I'm talking about averaging, one of the cool things, if you're unfamiliar with how the women's global event works, is you or your event are go to a designated women's global event. And what that means is the course has to be played the same in the exact same configuration for 2 rounds. You have to play it for 2 rounds. Does it have to be same configuration? Anyway, everybody has to play it for 2 rounds. And then you get, just like you would any other tournament, you get a rating for each round, and then they average those 2 ratings together to give you your total. So as I'm looking at Joy McNatt in FA55, she shot 885.7 and 894. So her total was 1779.8, which means she averaged 889.9 golf. And so then you take that and you put that against every other woman within your division worldwide, and that's how the champion is determined. So I just thought I'd make that quick distinction if you're new here. Donna Stanley took down FA60. Denise Gentry took down FA65, averaging 846 golf. FA70 was taken down by Lynette Ellison. Intermediate women was Paula Landry. I should quit with the codes so I don't keep screwing them up. Holy cow! And
this is like watching Gannon Burr play disc golf.
The 456 women in intermediate. So congratulations to her. Emma Emma. Congratulations to Emma in Tucson. Took down recreational women. And let me keep going. Holy cow, recreational women might have been the largest field at 634 women. Laura Zukis took down novice women, averaging 838. You know, people think, well, why is he reading all these? Well,
I'll give you this.
There was 533 women.
I like reading some of these because I got a message from someone when I read their name for, I believe it was Am World, saying, I finally made Smashbox. Someone read my name. I love it. I do. We just need to speed it up
Victoria,
here.
Victoria Rachel Paul. I know I should have had these in one thing. She took it down. She's already been on Disc Golf Guy coverage, for crying out loud. She averaged 932 golf in the junior girls under 18. Junior girls 15. Kylie Cahoot took it down. Congratulations. Junior girls 12. Morgan Reddick. Hannah Zalistra in junior girls 10 and under. Junior girls 8 and under. Hayden Harper out of Georgia. Congratulations to her. And junior girls 6 and under. Elliot Lehman. So,
all right.
Congratulations. Now I'm going to go through the top 5 in each division. No, but seriously, thank you everyone for bearing with me. But thank you and congratulations. If I skipped a division, I apologize. I think I got them all in there, but thank you guys and congrats. Thank you to the organizers, the committee, the PDGA. It's actually a very, very significant, monumental task to put that all on Big Dog and the rest of the PDGA staff and crew. I know it's getting easier for them because they now have been doing it for a number of years, but nonetheless, it's still a huge effort. So
congratulations is what he was saying. Congratulations. All right, we're going to talk about the Magic City Mega Bowl presented by Dynamic Discs and also a WGE event. The MPO, Silas Schultz wins this one by a single stroke over Sullivan Tipton. In third place was Bo McLaughlin. Fourth place tied was Lucas Pierce and Joey Lutz. In sixth place was Thunder Schultz. Silas got the better of the Schultzes this week over Thunder for sure. Seventh place was Harper Thompson. Eighth place, Ezra Goodwin. Ninth place, Dylan Wooten. And a three-way tie for 10th place. Congratulations in the FPO field. Courtney McCoy winning this one, taking home $1,170. Congratulations, Courtney. Second place was Cadence Burge. You may know her. She declined cash. In third place was Amelia Marshall. Fourth place, Haley Childs. And fifth place, Anna Pinter. Congratulations to everybody who played well at the Magic City Mega Bowl presented by Dynamic Discs down in Birmingham, Alabama. Terry, that's a different angle for you.
Yeah, I know. I came back and somehow it defaults to the wrong camera. And so this camera looks not nearly as good. Now it's on par with how yours looks.
Yeah, that's...
All right.
All right, we need to talk about, obviously, the big news. We don't want to bury the lead much longer. The PDGA handed down a 9-month suspension for one Niko Locastro. 9 months, as well as a 15-month probationary period after the fact. Niko will be eligible to return to the tour. I believe it's like May 9th or May 3rd, somewhere right around there. What's today? Today's the 9th, so probably May 9th. If it's a... he does have the right to appeal the decision. And that is where we stand with the Niko situation. It was designated as we'll say a Class A offense, which has I think a baseline or a default of about 24 months suspension. It is the quote-unquote worst or highest offense level. And the disciplinary committee has the right to adjust that time period based on any extenuating circumstances, of which they have done. Some people are saying this is a first offense for Niko, and he shouldn't maybe have not even have gotten 9 months. I don't know about that. I don't know if he's ever been on probation before in the past. I don't think so, but I don't know for certain. Ultimately, the PDGA came down with their decision, and some people agree with it, like everything. Some people don't. That is kind of where that's kind of where we stand with it.
I mean, yeah, it's like, of course, it's like every other topic, not just within disc golf, but literally back-to-back sentences you can read. That's BS. He should have never gotten anything. He didn't harm anyone, blah, blah, blah. Here's my 10 reasons. And then the very next sentence is, he didn't get nearly enough. It should have been more than 24 months, and here's all the reasons why for that. It's like every other topic, obviously, that could be highly contested, and there's a lot of feelings, and there's a lot of people that frankly just don't even know what they're talking about. I always feel like, at least come to the table with like a base understanding of either the rules and or applications, but and that goes all over the board, honestly. But yeah, it's funny to me, and I don't even think it has to be a matter of being like a quote unquote Niko hater or lover, wherever somebody may fall. It's just, man, people are fired up about the suspension, and I was largely preoccupied today. So it wasn't until just before the show that I actually had seen more about it. And I don't know that I have a strong opinion one way or another. I'm just going to say everything seems reasonable. Like, at face value, the disciplinary committee isn't out there to F around. Like, they don't have axes to grind. They're volunteer, and yet take it all very serious what they're doing. That's why things don't happen overnight. They get together, various accounts. They talk to all parties involved when they're, as much as people will reply to them. Like, there's some due diligence, and I know you could speak to the survey back when for a lot. For somebody that thinks it's like two guys, throwing a dart against the board to figure out, how they're going to move forward. It's so far from that. Now, do they get everything right? Maybe not. I haven't been involved with any legitimate disciplinary action on my end, but there is a process. I mean, this clearly now is affecting livelihoods in a greater sense than it ever has before in terms of the sheer money. And so they know that as well. None of this stuff is taken lightly. And I don't particularly envy anyone that's got to make some decisions. I mean, let's face it, no one wants to be in the awkward position of having the report, of having to DQ someone, of having to take these actions, and then all the follow-up that goes with it. And then no matter what you come down as a ruling out of the committee, which you just then submit to the board, I think, you're going to be scrutinized largely for whatever your finding was, whether it was too harsh or whether it was too soft. There's not a lot of winning there by anyone. So I think it's worth clarifying, and it was largely lost from day one, is that this the time violation is what sparked the interaction, and then it was the interaction that led to the disqualification and then ultimately the suspension. Nobody's kicking Niko off the tour because he, often exceeds the 30-second mark. That would just happen to be the infraction that then set off a different set of discussing. And I like making that clarification because there's a lot of people I've seen that are just like, oh man, getting kicked off the tour for not adhering to 30 seconds. It's like, no. It was so much more than that. So let's make sure we're, again, coming to the table with the same basic facts. So it's worthless to even ask you or ask me, honestly, what we think in terms of it, because again, we're not part of that process. But what I would follow up with, though, is there was then a Twitter fueled debate. Is that my understanding also, as I'm coming to the party late, or
Instagram? There was some Instagram drama, okay. Instagram/Twitter drama. Before we get into the fun DG drama of this, remember that this was designated as a Class A that had an option for 24 months. I truly believe that the PDGA and Niko probably, and not only that, but apparently Niko did not cooperate with the investigation immediately. I don't know if he eventually did or not. That, I think,
at the event, he did not.
Correct. Could have gone another way. Me personally, I was surprised it was that long. I thought it was going to be 6 months, but it turned into 9. whatever. I think Niko is serious, hopefully, about seeking some sort of help for whatever issues he's dealing with. And I bet you that played a part into why it was the link that was. As we said, he has the chance to appeal it as well. So there is, yeah.
An appeal also to drive that point home with really no downside to appealing. I mean, other than you may feel like you're just wasting time or getting your hopes up, but if I correctly, I don't necessarily a downside to appealing. Now, he may or may not even want to bother.
He may not.
But yeah.
To be fair, I think he was, for the most part, probably going to take a lot of the rest of the season off, maybe other than Worlds and the Pro Tour finale, maybe USDGC, maybe he was going to hit the big ones. This truly feels like a 3 to 4 month suspension for what it could be. I'm glad it's not any longer.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm glad.
Okay.
I don't know if it should have been shorter. I don't think so. I had a gut feeling of 6 months just because it kind of would have rounded out the rest of the season and then we'd have been done. I have no basis for that other than just literally a gut feeling as to what I thought it was going to be. So the fact that it was 9, I don't know. He's coming back in May. I don't believe this, this stops Niko from playing in sanctioned events. Play the Southern Nationals or something. There are other things he can do.
I think a lot of those are becoming sanctioned. Yeah. And somebody did just ask that. Chris Carpenter on the board says, can he play USDG since it's not sanctioned? USDGC is a major and it is sanctioned. It just doesn't count against your ratings.
It's an X tier.
But it is still
XM.
It is an XM Sirius Radio, the USDGC channel. So it is still sanctioned. It is very much a major championship. So he will not be allowed to compete in that. And then I guess to your point, when you say 9 months, or they say 9 months, not you, like you're saying, it's you figure there's a couple months that are likely very slow within that time frame anyway. And whether Niko's stationed in a Missouri or an Arkansas or a wherever during an off season, largely you're taking off for the most part. You're November through mid to late February for the most part. Our top athletes usually are even late October until February. So one would say, well, that doesn't feel as punishing. But yeah, clearly missing out of the Worlds in a few weeks, missing out on the USDGC, 2 of our remaining majors, and the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships. Those are all very significant. Those would be the most significant things that he's going to be missing out on. And my only take on all of that would be, if somebody said 6 months, I'd been like, okay. Somebody said 9, sure. If somebody said 12, I'd be like, I get it. I don't know enough about the policies to think like, 24 sounds about right. But if it did, just the little I've read of the policy, I don't think that would have been necessarily crazy per the policy. So when I hear 9 months, I'm like, okay. I mean, like that, like you said, call it your gut intuition. I'm just like, that seems to me personally, not that anyone's asked, but that seems reasonable to me. It certainly does not seem like too long, and it doesn't seem like too short. Seems about right to me.
And I want everyone to realize
12 months would have felt the same.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want everyone to realize you don't know all the details. Period.
Oh, I don't?
No. Well, maybe you do. I don't know. But most people out there don't know all the details.
Correct.
In general, not only with the disciplinary committee, which is and I'm going to say this, and people are going to get all pissy about it, a secret group. You don't know who's on the disciplinary committee. You know who the head of the disciplinary committee is, but the actual staff is not known to anybody. And that's for a reason. Because nobody wants to know if, and I'm not on it, but if I were on it, and I don't want people harassing me over this. There's no reason for that. I'm doing a job for the PDGA. So the members are behind closed walls, as I think it should be. You don't know how the investigation went. You don't know if maybe Niko just stonewalled them. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he fully cooperated. I have no idea. You have no idea. So to say that 9 months is wrong, you are going on 30 seconds of footage to base that
Yeah.
answer on. So just take that for what it's worth. We can get on to the more fun internet baby mama drama, llama drama if we want now.
Yeah, so with the ruling that was handed down, just as he seemed suspiciously, maybe suspicious isn't the right word, seemingly very active in the conversation was Paul Macbeth of Bradley Williams a few years ago. And Paul had made posts today with regard to Niko's. Give me the abridged version of how this has gone down.
The abridged version was that Paul more or less came out and stated he felt that it was a first offense, that he didn't feel like, he felt it was too much for what happened. He kind of put some of the blame on the official as well for quote unquote staring back at Niko and not trying to diffuse the situation, maybe.
Yeah, he's not a trained police officer, but go on.
Agreed. I disagree with Paul on that particular take, on that side of his take.
I disagreed with everyone. Just to be clear, I disagreed with everyone that said they're there to diffuse. They're not there with their psychology degrees and their 10 years of law enforcement. They're out there to enforce some rules for throwing a frisbee around. Mm-hmm. So to say he's there to diffuse a situation, I think is just a bit is a bit much.
My favorite take on this, on the official, is people that say, oh, he was staring at Niko. I don't know if he was staring at Niko. He just got into a confrontation with somebody who was clearly hot-headed, and maybe he was watching him because he didn't understand what was coming next. A person who just approached him.
Bingo.
So would I be watching somebody that just did that for the next couple of seconds to make sure that nothing was escalated? Probably. Did Niko take it as some sort of aggressive staring thing? Maybe. That's mixed signals. That could be anything. Again, and I think that was part of Paul's take, is that he kind of maybe felt that the official should not have been staring. I don't know. But then he also said, I'm obviously going to get a lot of messages on my take, but here's the reasons. The official makes the call on the 30 seconds. Niko asks why on 3 occasions and gets an answer on all 3. I don't understand that point. Niko says, step away from me. The official takes a half step back. Niko walks back to his bag, and the official stares him down the whole time. I just addressed that. Niko confront the official for staring him down, not for the call. And the fact that he's suspended for a Class A intimidation feels off to me. And then Paul goes on to clarify, I believe, that he felt it maybe should have been more of a Class C violation instead of a Class A. That is a discussion point I'm happy to have. If you want to discuss which class violation it is, they come with different weights. I personally don't really agree with Paul on some of the points. Some of them, he might have a point. He maybe knows more than I do about the situation. Being as, him and Niko were, they're friendly. They came up in the sport together. But that's not the fun stuff, Terry. The fun stuff. Go ahead. No, why don't you? I'll let you address
I was just going to quickly say I can. No. I was going to quickly say I can appreciate that Paul's got to take. Paul was very active within the I'll say the Bradley conversation years ago, and I know that Paul is overall looking out for the players in the sense that this is their livelihood, and there's just a very careful line that's got to get drawn as to when one person or one committee of people can ultimately alter the direction or the trajectory of someone's career path and earnings. I get all of that. And I can appreciate Paul for thinking that way and thinking on behalf of the player in that sense. And I can also turn around and say, there are rules and there are consequences. And you may not love all the rules and you may not love all the consequences, regardless of whom they're coming down on. So, I can understand him taking a stance in a position. I don't have to agree with it. You don't have to agree with it. And I'm sure some players and some fans will and won't, and that's fine too. I just know that Niko missed a putt at the Kansas City Wide Open and then yelled at me for staring at him while I was working a camera. So I don't know what he thinks people are supposed to be doing out there, what fans and spectators and officials and media people are supposed to be doing. But part of the job is to watch them and to record actions and to do those types of things. I think I don't know if somebody was like you said, if somebody was that aggressive with me and had those issues, and then I watched them for the next few moments to make sure something else didn't get out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody wants to take that as aggressive as staring, but yeah,
I
I don't even want to
am
go into it
glad.
anymore because I'm going to say things that are
Yeah.
are going to get people even more fired up. But
I'm glad, like you said, I'm
yeah,
glad Paul takes a stand and takes a take on this. I think I don't know if he sees himself as this or if other people see him as this, but I think a lot of fans do see him as the face of the players. He's not only the face of the sport a lot of times, but he's probably also the face of the players. He has stepped up in instances, like we said, the Bradley Williams, and his voice carries more weight than other people. If
sure.
if Chris Clemens made a statement about it, it does not hold as much weight as Paul McBeth's, like it or not. It's just Paul has a very his takes are taken more heavily than others. It's just the way it works because he has the spotlight so big, because he has the big contract and everything. I'm glad whether I agree with it or not, doesn't matter. I'm glad he's doing it because I think that, if he's right, he's right. If he's wrong, he's wrong. At least he's doing something. He's not just standing by on the sidelines. Terry, this is why. Sit down. The players need a union.
A players' union. Yes, player union. Can we please bring that up? And can we please beat that to death of how effing many times people want
10
to
years.
Think that's the magic solution?
Longer?
More than that.
Longer? 15?
It's been more than that.
Probably closer to 15 years we've been hearing players union.
I think it's 15. I think Dave Felberg was collecting some initial dues for that at the 2007 IDGC grand opening in the parking lot, and that just celebrated a 15-year anniversary in April of this year. So at least a full 15 years that this has been beat to death, and nobody has stepped up since Dave's last attempt to go ahead and follow through. So by God, if you hate everything, you're pro player, blah, 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 that you think negotiations, contracts, litigations, you name it, start that PDGA or the disc golf pro player union. Please, and tag me when you do, because we'll have you on the show. We'll instantly, and I'm not even being cocky. We will have you on the show immediately when you've got it up off the ground and running. But until then, everyone shut the F up about it, because you're just not starting it. You can call for it, but nobody's starting it. So, all right. So
after
conversation,
after Paul makes this hot take, so to speak, as some people are saying, Brody took to Twitter and disagreed with Paul's take. Said, "Yo, Paul, I just, I can't believe you took this position. I disagree." Brody had some words about the decision, a little bit, just very neutral, I would say, about, not for, not against it, very much riding the line. But he did come out and say, "Paul, I disagree with your take on it."
Okay.
And
sure.
At that point, somebody says one or two things about it, and Paul comes back and more or less says, I think somebody asked why he didn't tag Paul. And Paul more or less said, "Yeah, Brody blocked me a while ago on Twitter." Which then proceeded for someone to say, "Oh, well, this is why I think," oh my God, this is so funny. "I think this is why I think Brody's going to be at Innova next year." To which Paul responded, said, No. I really hope he stays at Discraft. because I like it that he has to throw discs with my name on it. Just,
Wow.
it
All right.
it got spicy a little bit. It did get a little spicy. I'm not gonna lie. I like spicy Paul. I do. It's phenomenal. And and then Brody just confirmed, yes, I blocked Paul a while ago. And obviously there's always the questions of what happened at Foundation. None of us know. It's history at this point. But two of the biggest voices, as we just said, Paul, Brody also carries that voice because of his following. Getting into a little spat back and forth, a little bit of a spicy hot take back and forth is always fun for people to watch and read. I don't. There's really nothing other than, as I said, stupid disc golf internet drama, because it really amounts to nothing. It's just humorous. A lot of people enjoy it. So.
Yeah. Well, just real quick, and I know nothing of the better because of my afternoon. And so I'm truly pleading the fifth here that apparently you butchered that, is what someone had said. And I don't know if they know the story better than you, but
Maybe
it might be worth us, if there's a distinct clarification that's worth knowing, that we should let's try to get it right. But maybe you were spot on and somebody else has butchered it. I don't know, but for what it's worth, and I'm sure whatever it is, it's probably not too far off of how you described it. But somebody said that you have the take completely wrong. I don't know. Either way, the long and short of it, though, is there's definitely a little jabbing back and forth between the two of them, and it's stemming from the conversation and the punishment, so to speak, handed down by Niko. So
I know Brody said it was a bad take from Paul. Paul clapped back at it. I mean,
yeah, okay. Either way, well, we'll see how this weekend goes. Of course, we're here at Ledgestone. A little bit of, well, not a little bit, a lot. I mean, this event, I think 2,200 total people. Obviously, there's an amateur side that accompanies the pro side. I was just gonna look for starts taking place literally every single day. They started. There was a couple this weekend. I think 3 of them on Monday at various courses. There were multiple ones today. There's a couple more tomorrow. I think a lot of them are sold out. I was gonna maybe even see if I could sneak into a few more the rest of the week, but most of them have sold out, or they're at a course I won't go out of my way for probably. 148 in the MPO division and 52 women in the FPO division that will be taking place this weekend. Johnny, without giving away too many spoilers, if they're even that, can you kind of loosely describe how the coverage is going to sort of look this weekend?
Sure.
Because it's going to be a little abnormal, and
it is.
This is a precursor. I'm sure there's going to be like a Disc Golf Network news blast and some social media posts that get out there, but without spoiling and or butchering anything, give everybody kind of a general idea of what we'll see this weekend.
I don't know if there's anything spoilery about it, but
well, okay. I mean,
Northwood Black.
Yeah, I don't know if people know.
As we know, Northwood Black has some struggle issues with cell signal. We will not be covering the front 9 of Northwood Black for any round. So any round where Northwood Black is the course, we will be coming in late. We'll be covering back 9 holes live. There will still be post-production if you care a lot about the first 9 holes. We will probably be filling in with highlights from the lead card on those as we come in. And so, for instance, Thursday, I believe the schedule is that the men tee off at Northwood Black normally at like 3, or no, do they tee off they tee off Thursday, they tee off in the morning at Northwood Black. We will not be coming to Northwood Black until 11:30, which means it's the women. The women are playing Northwood Black on Thursday. We will not start our coverage on Thursday until 11, until they get through the front 9. The next day, on Friday, the men play Northwood Black in the afternoon, which means we will not come to them until 5 o'clock Central Time. Normally, we start at 3:30. We'll coming in an hour and a half later, let them get through the front 9. Let's catch them just as they're at the backup on 12, and we can sit and watch every other card play. No, that's basically it. If Northwood Black is being covered, we will not cover the front 9. So the coverage times might vary a little bit from the normal 9:30, 3:30, or right around there. Sometimes they push it up or back 15 minutes. Okay. It's gonna be pushed back. That is the plan for Northwood Black as of the meeting that we had yesterday.
Okay. So just really more than anything, that's just to give you guys a little bit of insight or background to how things will go. Unfortunately, this is nothing new. When you're talking about a course that has that much challenge, not only from a playing perspective, but then also from an overall timing and from a cellular challenge perspective, there's just these little tweaks that need to be accounted for. And so that's kind of the game plan. And so stay tuned. I'm sure that'll be all written out in an email blast format and probably put on social media. But wanted to give you guys a little insight as to what you're going to see and hear. So, all right. Yes, we're going to see Johnny McRae back in action as well.
I picked him up on my skip ace.
Ago.
I did. I dropped.
He was here just a few weeks ago, winning the Worlds.
I dropped AJ Carey, picked up some Johnny McRae, put him in my lineup. I think the dude's going to be playing well. If you're playing skip ace, go and get him now.
Okay. I mean, you could give away all the secrets, I guess.
Hey, if you're listening, that's what you get.
Man, it's special Johnny V insight. Wow, priceless. All right. Yeah. Matt says, Terry, can you ask all the pros tomorrow during the Vault team, Brody? Just as a quick clarification for everyone, fair or not, whether you care or not, it is worth clarifying because it probably will get asked. I am, for lack of a better phrase, I am not contracted and working with the Pro Tour this weekend. I am contracted and working specifically with the Ledgestone event and with Nate Heinold. And I think I maybe touched on this last week, but I have a long history of being around for this event. Johnny and I attempted to cover this live at Northwood 10 years ago, where we struggled.
We did cover it live.
Yeah, it was a struggle. And so I have a very long history of having some assistance with this event. And this year, it was made way back in January. We just said, hey, let's make. Last year, I was only here for 2 days, and then I had to leave anyway and go to my half sister's wedding for the weekend. And so I was only here half the time anyway. Well, this year, we made the decision way back in January while doing the schedule that I would be essentially off from the Pro Tour. And instead, I was going to be working with Nate Heinold for this weekend. It's not normal. It's a little out of the ordinary, but there's some history there. And so I'll be doing things with Nate, along with Hannah, along with T-Box Media, and the Ledgestone as an overarching event. So if you're curious or not, or you're rejoicing or not, you will likely not see or hear much from me from a Disc Golf Pro Tour, Disc Golf Network perspective. You'll see me out there. I'll be doing things, but it will probably be either on some other social media or platform or on the Ledgestone page or wherever. And then likely you'll see me doing some of these nightly recaps, which are entirely on my own. But it's worth clarifying right now because I think there's a lot of people that might be like, wait, I see Terry, but he's not doing the work. Did he get fired? The short answer is not yet. So I will be here and I will be doing things. So worth clarifying. Tommy Hawk did say, why were you guys not at the Creators Cup? We received no invites. I was it the foundation guys that put it on officially?
They were scared.
Or whoever orchestrated it. Whoever orchestrated it did not include us. And I take that obviously as nothing but a compliment that, like Johnny said, just simply scared. All right, Johnny, we still have the Fierce documentary to talk about that I'd like to talk about. I don't know if you want to if we want to wrap up the regular show, take a quick break here,
sure,
and then we can come back and maybe
I'll Maybe I'll
talk
watch it in the
about.
quick break.
Well, you can watch the trailer. You're not watching the hour and 45-minute documentary, but
No, I know.
that'll be our
your
after
take.
show. Let's just watch that.
I'll trust you. I'll trust your take. My goal. I haven't had a chance to actually watch it yet, but we can talk about it in the after show with your hot take, Terry Miller.
Okay. So we're going to close out the regular show here. I'm also going to see if I can do a little reset, maybe get my camera to work correctly and refill my beverage. And we'll come back. The Fierce documentary will headline the after show, and then we'll get into all the other normal after show silliness. So I think that's it. We're going to call it. This has been podcast, lots of random gossiping and rambling here tonight.
So squirrely.
Oh my. We're going to call it. This has been Smashbox TV's podcast 415, the regular show. We're here at Ledgestone. We're going to have a great week. Looking forward to it. We're going to talk the Fierce documentary. We're going to have a giveaway and all the other fun stuff, even more juiciness to come to you guys in the after show. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hey, Terry.
Hi.
Somehow we jumped right back on.
Good, because everybody's seeing me stare at a computer, getting really frustrated. Oh, I'm going to disable that device.
It's normally supposed to go right to our little Smashbox after show thing, but it didn't go to that.
Hey,
Terry.
that's better. Way better.
Welcome to the after show, everybody. This is how it gets started, with us not knowing what the hell we're doing.
To be fair, it was pretty obvious what I needed to be doing. I don't know what the hell you were doing, but regardless,
the funny thing
here
is,
we are.
I have a little script. I push a button. It normally runs through and you went away. Nice. And it normally goes through and does all the little stuff. It goes to the Smashbox page. I come here. I run. I do some things. Guess what? Weird. I changed shirts because I want to know if the different colored shirt would matter if it make me look less Simpsons-y and yellow as opposed to the black shirt with the black background. So we'll see.
Well, either way, welcome everyone. This has Smashbox TV's podcast 415's after show. Johnny V, our world class. Like, I have an excuse. I'm not technically capable. All right.
Of much at all.
Exactly. You, on the other hand, should have this down.
No, don't do that. Don't trust me with that.
All right. All right. Well,
my goal is to have it down by episode 500.
I wouldn't hold your breath on that either. Oh, geez. That's why we need someone like Dust Esports out there. Dustin, hope you're well, buddy. You say, hey there, crew, how's it going? If it's not obvious, it's not going great here. Maybe he should be pressing some buttons and helping us out. But either way, welcome everyone. It's the after show. As always, once we get the tech figured out, We will talk about things both disc golf and non-disc golf related. If you've got anything, it's usually easiest to put it into the YouTube chat. We'll try to directly react and or answer questions or find a tangent for you to go off from there. But I wanted to quickly open with the Fierce documentary. And first and foremost, Wednesday evening, so less than 24 hours from this moment, if you're watching this on Tuesday night, there is a live Q&A with Wilson, the gentleman that put it all together, along with Paige, and I believe I'm, in fact, the moderator, MC, host person. And I believe it's at 8 p.m. Central. That's when I'm showing up anyway. 8 p.m. Central time. Figured out what that means for all the other time zones. But 8 p.m. Central, and that's going to be Disc Golf Network? I assume Disc Golf Network. That's actually a great point. I don't know where it is. I just know I have to turn on the camera. Where we're going to go over, and Paige had tagged me today in a post saying, you ready to ask me all the questions? And I believe a lot of people have submitted questions. I think there's already a ton of those that have been put through. I'll go through them. I'll look at them. I'll largely use that as my frame of reference and my template. But hopefully I come up with something mildly insightful to ask one or both of them as we kind of weave throughout those questions. So that's taking place, a live Q&A tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central. Now, by a show of hands or a comment in the YouTube chat, tell me how many of you have seen it.
They can't.
Johnny? There hasn't been. It hasn't. Oh yeah,
it literally drops tomorrow,
okay,
Terry. By a show of hands.
No. Okay,
nobody,
no.
There are a few
no, that's
media
not true because
outlets.
some people have seen it.
There are a few media
Yes,
outlets that got
okay.
early access to it. That is correct.
Okay.
But the general populace has not had a chance to see it. It releases on Wednesday. So if you're listening to this not live, or Terry is just talking to the people because the audio version of this is going to drop on Friday. So that's who Terry's talking to, clearly.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking to.
Wink.
No, I apologize. I was forgetting that it was released largely to some media outlets such as yourself and I and a few others. So I did have the chance, and I have not had a conversation with Paige about this, but I did have the chance to consume it this weekend. And I obviously don't, I don't know if there's anything to spoil. I enjoyed it. Here's my biggest takeaway. I was going to say I'm excited for other disc golfers to see it, but I don't know if I am. I'm excited for the general population to somehow find it. How and when that's going to happen, I don't know. I think that's part of the next hurdle. Here's my big takeaway, though. Whether you loved it or hate it, Johnny, or I love it or hate it, or everyone here loves it or hates it, I don't think this is made for us.
Is it made for a non-disc golfer?
That's what I'm wondering is will it grab and hold the attention of someone who doesn't know anything about disc golf? I think, to me, now Paige, can correct me tomorrow. Wilson can correct me tomorrow if I'm wrong. I feel like that's probably the biggest question, because if that was the intent at all, because if they are catering to the disc golf community, I think the disc golf community is going to love it. If it's meant for the general public, they could love it or hate it. But my point is it meant for them? Because I think for our disc golf community, we're so ingrained. We're so in tune. You know what happened at the World Championships last year, right? So there's so much more to the story than that. But I feel like we're looking at it potentially with very narrow lenses already, because we're in the disc golf community. And so to me, I'm excited to hear and to see when we have a reaction from the general public. That, to me, I think is the biggest unknown and variable here. So I'll be excited. So maybe a better question to ask is like, how many of you have paid for it? How many of you, because I saw a lot of people saying, I've already paid for it, I'm on it, let's do it. And others are saying, no, I would never do that. I'm either can't afford it, or I'm just too cheap, or I don't like her, or whatever. I mean, everybody's got a reason, and that's your reason.
It's $6 additional if you're a DGPT, or I'm sorry, a DGN subscriber. It's $12, I believe, if you are non-DGN subscriber and you just want to watch the Fierce documentary.
Yeah. Wait, say that again.
If you're a DGN subscriber
$6.
already, it's $6. Yep. If you are not a DGN
Correct.
subscriber, it is $12. Fairly certain.
Yes. I believe that's exactly the case. And I think the number one challenge, or maybe even criticism, that she's received, and it's even out here on our board right now as well, is that people had felt like I was part of a Kickstarter, or in this case, it was an Indiegogo. I was part of an Indiegogo. I supported her there and supported the documentary. I don't like that now here it is and there's a screening for it, and you'd like me to do a pay-per-view to watch it. That is absolutely a thread that's out there. And I can understand now there's more to it, and it's not like Paige is putting this money in her pocket and all of that, but I can understand that sentiment. Some people very much saying, hey, I've supported this already, and I'm not going to support it anymore. I feel like, I did my part. Some people have said, I didn't support it before, and I'm certainly not going to pay for it now. I watch free content. I can watch free post-production any day I want for free. I'm not going to pay for something like this. That's certainly been a sentiment out there. I think there's other people that are like, hey, I supported the Indiegogo, and I want to support purchasing it. It means bigger things. It has different opportunities to it, and I'm just happy to support it. And what's $6 to me? That's a fair, perspective as well. It's certainly all over the board as to how people are responding, but I feel like by and large, the number one train of thought is, I've supported it, and or I get free content. I can't see paying for a pay-per-view to watch this documentary, or this full feature-length movie.
We have a poll.
Here's what I'll add
on our YouTube right now going. 32 votes so far. Just about 70% say that they're going to watch it, and 30% say they will not.
Okay. Here's the other thing I'll say to it, and this is not her fault. I feel like an option to view this via pay-per-view is coming at a terrible time. And I mean that because there are a lot of people that are still very frustrated, or were frustrated, with the idea of a pay-per-view model that existed at all for the European Open. And never mind that they don't understand or agree with, whatever happened with that model. And that's not a Disc Golf Pro Tour event, and blah, 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 blah. I'm not about to, try and make sense for everybody on that yet again. But I just feel like the timing really hurt. And it maybe hurt a little bit for the Disc Golf Network, and it definitely hurt a little bit for the actual project itself. If there was out of thin air this was released in the middle of January, and it's like, hey, we've got this, this great, full-length documentary, and here it is, and it's $6. I feel like a lot of people are more inclined to be like, yeah, that sounds like something I can get behind. But I feel like coming on the heels of some frustrated or misunderstood patrons from the European Open certainly hurt this as well. Does that seem logical, Johnny?
Sounds logical, yeah.
So, and right or wrong, again, everyone's got their feelings about it. I'm not telling you how to feel about it. I know how I feel about it. I'm just saying I think that certainly is adding to this overall. And David C just moments ago says $11.99. That's a no for me, dog. And I'm sure he would insert the American Idol. What's his name?
Randy.
The American Randy. Thank you. Wow. the Randy gif if he could. And I get it. I'm not again, if it's something that doesn't suit you or you're not the biggest fan, I would encourage you because it's bigger than just Page. But if it's a no from you, I understand. Pat Hamill says, I'm not going to watch the Page documentary tomorrow. If I have an option to watch it later, then maybe. Okay.
I'll probably
once you buy it, if you have it, and you should have it in your pay-per-view section, you're on the DGN account. Okay.
Yeah, I'll probably not watch it tomorrow either. But I will more than likely watch it either this weekend or early next week. If it depends what happens. If I can find time, I might try to squeeze it in over the next 2 days, but I can't promise anything. Life has just been busy lately. So. But it's not a money. It's definitely not a money thing because I can watch it for free.
Yeah, you're loaded. You should buy like 100.
That's a no dog
for people. Just give them away. You're such a jerk. Anyway,
why would I do that when I can just log into the back end and give them away?
Just give away a bunch of codes. That's what you should do.
I would never do that, Jeff.
Did I accidentally generate a bunch of codes and then give them to everybody?
Actually, I don't think I can generate codes. I think they've got that restricted for me.
Here's what I will say, if this matters to anyone. It is an hour and 45 minutes. Like you're not getting a 52-minute, I'll just make up a number, a sub 1 hour like documentary that's ready for, commercials or something. Like it's a full hour and 45 minutes. And you can tell that it is professionally edited. It is professionally shot. There's a lot of other throwbacks and references and other things that are all part of it. There's a little bit of controversy within it. There's some bigger topics that, we've kind of even almost touch on here semi-regularly. Like there's a lot of things that it covers. And I think some people may even say, yeah, there's a lot of things that it covers. It almost covers too many things. I could see that being one piece of feedback because it's not exclusively the Page story. So I do want to put that out there.
And that was what my concern was. I was going to ask you, and obviously I'll find out in the next couple of days, how much of the documentary involves the history of disc golf? Because I feel like to me, it feels like every documentary we do on disc golf, even if you're talking documentary of the 2022 Worlds, let's go back to Ed Hedrick. And it's like, ugh, come on, guys. Like, we've touched on this. How much time of the documentary does it spend on like the history of the sport?
It lays some groundwork.
Okay.
Certainly. I don't know if I have an exact counter on the exact time. I don't feel like whatever it is, when you add up all the minutes, I don't feel like it's exhausting.
Okay,
and there again, I feel like that goes to who's our market, who's the viewer. Because if this is Joe Schmo who knows nothing about disc golf, a little backstory and a little history, or maybe even a lot, could go a long way.
Sure.
Versus you who knows the story. You met at Steady Ed Hedrick. So again, to me, I think that's one of the most prominent questions is, who is this designed for? Who is this built for? Who is this intended for? To me, I think that's what's crucial here. So there is a little bit of backstory. There's definitely conversation about the Disc Golf Pro Tour, the Disc Golf Network, the Disc Golf, the National Tour. Of course, the PDGA is in there. And I don't think this is considered a spoiler at all. I will say because someone just asked and said, does Kat do an interview, is what Ray asks. And I think the best way that I could answer that is saying, I feel like Katrina is in a different place mentally today, in a even stronger place mentally today, and more secured place than she was maybe at the beginning of this process. And my understanding was that, I could be wrong, but my understanding was that Katrina was asked to be part of it and had just declined to be part of it. And I'll ask that same question tomorrow to be sure on it, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And it is unfortunate that there's not some additional insight from Katrina. Again, fast forward a year to present day, And I think if the same question was posed to her today, hey, documentary starting, it's going to focus on women's disc golf, Paige, whatever. I think Kat would be, I think she'd be more inclined to be part of it. But my understanding is that she was asked to have some part of it and that she had declined to be part of it. And so that's one thought. I compared that with a fellow viewer. And we agreed that's too bad, because I feel like Kat being part of it from an interview perspective could have been even more impactful. But Kat's certainly in it, of course, is talked about and whatever. I mean, it's a really incredible piece on women's disc golf. So to me, it's not just the Paige Pierce story and her going after her 6th world title. It definitely is encompasses so much more.
Does she win that 6th one? Spoiler, bro.
The funny part about this is there's an alternate ending that you can click on.
Stay till after the credits. There's a secret. If you stay till after the credits, Nick Fury shows up and gives her the world championship.
And then the best part is Paige actually had me go out to Utah, where I was, did a few pieces of this. And one of my favorite parts is I come in and after the credits, I'm like, and we're here for the after round. And then like, it's a totally alternate ending. It's incredible. So yeah. Anyway, I've seen it all. That's what I'm going to say. I've seen lots of support. I've seen, the opposite of support. I've seen everything in between. Again, most of you are grown-ups, make your own decisions. Hopefully you do it politely, whatever the case might be. I personally enjoyed it. And fair or not, I think about the crew, literally the crew of people. I think about the hundreds of thousands of dollars of camera equipment. I think about the traveling, the editing, the amount of people that are in it. I think about all of those things from a cost perspective. And then I think about what it means just to simply thank and help support a creator in Wilson and his team, his wife, and all the other people that he worked with. And to me, the $6 or $12 would be a no-brainer. You think about all the stupid ways you spend $6 or $12 like daily. So to me, I know I'm also an avid fan and supporter overall, but I don't think
the VHS copy. That's
just me.
That's how hardcore you are. You got the VHS copy.
It's the limited commentator's copy. So yeah, I mean, and if you guys come back and say there's not enough Terry time, you'd be wrong. There's too much. No. So support it if you want, don't if you want, but just because somebody else does and you don't doesn't mean you have to get feisty about it, in my opinion. So
I hope at some point in the next couple months she releases the numbers. I hope that we hear more from it. I hope that it gets picked up in other places. I mean, it's
and just to be clear, although she sorry, I'm interrupting you, but just to be clear, part of the reason this isn't like a money grab for the pay-per-view perspective. Essentially, in order for someone like a Netflix or a Hulu or whoever to I guess like take it a little more seriously, they look at the numbers and the analytics of like, hey, are people paying for this? Are people willing to pay for this? And that's what's driving the whole pay-per-view model. I can't say that enough. This is not a, hey, they spent $100,000 or $150,000 on the project. Now it's time to, try and get a few more dollars out of everyone. It's nothing like that. It's very much, this is trying to provide a proof of concept to a Netflix or a Hulu and saying, yes, this is of interest. People are willing to pay for it. This is great content. So that's kind of the premise behind it. And I don't know that messaging is as clear as it needs to be, because I think a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, I gave money for an Indiegogo. I bought some discs at some point during the year, and now she wants me to pay for it. So I think there's a little disconnect in the messaging as well. And I'm not making any commission on it and explaining any of this. I do like it to be out there that's part of the overall process here. So, and I'm not sure that she knew that going in. I keep wondering all these same questions. I should just ask her tomorrow, but I'm not sure she knew that going in. I didn't know if she would know, hey, we're going to get to this step, and then we really need to do this, and then we're going to have to do that. And what if we miss this deadline for a film festival? And what if we do this? Like, I think there was probably a lot of learning that was part of this process. So,
Well, I look forward to watching it. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to you watching it, and then us gossiping in a Smashbox exclusive Patreon only conversation about it.
Yeah.
Spock says, "I'm not interested in paying for a disc golf documentary, but I don't have a problem with people who do." That's a pretty fair and reasonable approach. I love it. The sales, especially with a loyal niche community, will be so dismal it will ruin credibility. Maybe not. I don't know how Netflix executives work. I don't know how those number crunching, what that looks like, and then the conversations. And I think another fair question is, what's considered success? If 100 people buy it, 600 people, 2,900 people buy it, like, I'm dying to know, like, what would deem it successful from a Netflix perspective. And I just keep using Netflix generically, but
yeah, I mean, that could be Hulu.
That's what
Amazon
I would
Prime,
like to know that. Yeah, of course. Johnny, clarifying what microphone he's using.
A Heil PR40.
So here's a good question, since our mics are very different, especially tonight. I'd be curious to know if the volume level and quality level is good for people right now. I mean, I haven't seen anyone largely complaining out there in our chat, but I do seriously want to know, because this might be the setup that's used for the next couple of days. Johnny, you would laugh. The world would laugh if you saw my setup currently. Let's just say I had a hard time getting the arm that holds the microphone, getting it to position itself. So it's quite the rigged setup, that's for sure. All right, Johnny. So 4 rounds, Ledgestone. You kind of already explained a little bit of the media plan. In any wild either predictions or thoughts for this weekend?
Not really. I haven't. I think the weather is supposed to be decent, hot, probably.
Okay. I don't think it's supposed to be that hot.
Really? I thought I saw mid 80s.
Like not disgustingly hot or unbearable. I'm gonna go to Eureka,
I'm looking right
Illinois.
now. Thursday, 85. Oh, Friday, 78, 80. So anywhere between mid 80s, we'll say, highs. So that's not horrible. But it's moderate. It's
no. It's certainly tolerable, and we are not seeing rain in the forecast. Is that correct?
That is correct. A little cloudy if you're lucky.
Last year,
but no real precipitation. Last year, you're right. It was canceled the final round because we had all that fun. Yeah, it looks like Thursday is really the only chance. Maybe a little bit on Sunday towards the end of the day, but again, you're looking at a 10 to 15% chance of rain, so nothing that's going to be canceling any rounds like last year. I don't really have any predictions for this year. It's going to be different, playing Northwood Black, only covering half of it. Yeah, I mean, I know Nate would strangle me for saying this, but it's just a pro tour event. Like, it's so hard these days to predict anything because all of our players are getting so good. We only have one single 1050 rated player right now. That's Eagle McMahon.
Oh my gosh. And he ain't even here.
No, he's barely in it. So everybody else has dropped down below 950 right now. So the competition is as good as it's going to be with the difficulty of the courses that we're seeing. I hear that I'm not a stats guy, but it might be compressing ratings a little bit, and which is why you're not seeing like the 1060 like we used to. That the courses are getting so much harder that it might be pushing those down. Again, I'm not a stats person. I don't know the formula. I've got no idea how life works. But
okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I think you're going to see a good competition. I think you're going to see people complain about Northwood Black, and the backups, I think you're going to
Okay.
hear people say they dislike Eureka. I think it's going to be a good
I
competition,
feel
and
like Eureka's dialed in.
I agree, but there's still
I
people
feel
who
like
just dislike the course. They dislike the aesthetics of it, that you throw over the baseball diamond, that there's the bridge, the the water tower hole, which I think are all kind of disc golf iconic now, as opposed to when we first saw them. It was just literally people are like, I can't believe we're throwing at a water tower. And now that's one of the most iconic shots of the year.
Yeah.
So just in general, I think that I think you're going to see good competition. You're going to see it's going to be close, I bet. It's going to come down to the last. I bet you there are at least 3 people within 2 strokes in the last 3 holes of the event. That's my bold prediction.
Wow, bold. So not claiming any blowouts.
No, I don't believe there'll be a blowout here.
Okay. All right. I'm going to read a few things off the board quickly here. Disc Blaster, well, beaming with negativity. Shocker. So I'll just skip over a bunch of that.
As Ray brings up, we are getting Kristen Tatar back. So that's good. She talked to her doctor and said that her elbow issue is a pinched nerve and it shouldn't be getting any worse, and that she won't be doing any additional damage to it by playing, but that she has a hard time throwing hyzers. Like that's where the pain comes in when she throws a hyzer due to her pinched nerve. So, I mean, that's great. I don't know how competitive she's going to be. We'll find out compared to, the rest of the field she did just play an event overseas where I think she averaged like 970 rating. So it seems like she's doing okay, but things are different when you get into the big leagues here.
Okay. So yeah, hopefully it'll be great to have her back and in the scene. Some people talking about Bert Kirchner as to if we're going to see him or not at some point. I think he'll get involved. I think we're going to see him at some point. It's Terry on the internet cuts out from time to time.
It gets a little glitchy every once in a while where your audio kind of stutters.
Yeah.
So that's.
I wonder. I mean, the quick test I did last night, and I'm guessing it won't get any better necessarily this weekend, is that I was getting somewhere around like 75 down and 15 up here at this hotel. So I feel like that's generally pretty solid, unless there's a ton of people that jump on this internet.
As you say that, your video froze up, but your audio kept going.
Okay, so there you go.
So you're on hotel Wi-Fi? Yeah, that's.
I'm on hotel Wi-Fi. But it was, like I said, it was 75 by 15. And then I thought about us just having Nate Heinold a week or two ago and how I could go over to the Ledgestone office every night, but that was not, 100% spot on. So we'll see what I get figured out this week.
Danny Hollis asked the question, Terry, what year do you think the PDGA number 1 million will be given out?
Oh, wow.
What are we at now? We're over 200,000.
Yeah, we're at like 229 or 232 or something insane.
Do you think it will be?
I mean,
10. Do you think it's within 10 years?
Yes.
You think the PDGA will pick up about 100,000 people a year? We'll just say under that 70,000, 80,000 people a year.
Yeah, I would. What year is it now? 2022. I think by 2030, I'd give it 8 years for us to pick up another. That is some aggressive growth, though.
That is aggressive growth, Terry Miller.
I've heard that before. Okay, so maybe.
Yeah, but that was
maybe not that quick.
That was on your back though. It was weird. Your doctor said, Terry, that's some aggressive growth. We might need to take a look.
Speaking
at
of
that.
which, I think I have a little cyst on my back, and it's been there for years. There's a tiny lump on my back. I'm feeling it right now for all you audio listeners.
Ew.
There's just a tiny lump on my back that's kind of hard, and it's been there for a few years now, and I've never had it looked at. I think that might happen.
Probably have it looked at just to.
It's like it doesn't hurt. I feel fine. It's just this tiny little lump lump's even almost a strong phrase for it. No, yeah, I'll let you feel it next time, Johnny. You can
Yeah,
describe it for the world.
Yeah, we'll do a Patreon exclusive, Terry. It'll be great.
All right. David John said, I missed things, but interested on the time limit and gender. Well, we touched on that way at the beginning of the hour.
I don't think we're picking up 170,000 people a year, Terry. I think you'd have to push that back to like 2036. 2036 would be my guess.
I could get behind that. Sure. Some numbers, land would be more expensive. Of course, Northwood Black. Who's winning? Both of you go out to Northwood Black. Who is winning and by how much?
Oh, that's so tough. Probably you. I don't know about how much though right now. I mean, I feel like I'm a base level 930 rated player. You give me a week's worth of playing and I might do better, but Northwood Black is that's such a tough course to decide because given hole, you could I could walk up to hole 12 and take a 6 on it, and you could take a 9 and not even think anything different. Like, oh, cool, there's 3 strokes. Any of those holes for us right now. Our good friend Steve Held, who went out there, he's a 970 rated player. He shot 15 over or 17 over, and then he came back and shot a 1 over. I don't think I'm beating a 15 over on that course. I don't think you are either. It's just. It would be difficult to say. I think Terry has an edge on me as far as skills, probably still, considering neither of us play very often. But that particular course, I'm shooting 20 over par probably. Minimum.
Well, Spock, if we put $100 on the line, then
Terry wins.
We definitely
because Terry always wins money back. We could play for fun, and he won't care, and I could win. But you put $1 on that round, and somehow Terry shows up to play.
Yeah. So Ray, I'll quickly touch on it, and honestly, because I don't have a lot of details. But what we did see about a week and a half or 2 or whatever, sometime in the last 10 to 14 days. Nate Sexton had made a post saying, hey, my podcast co-host / producer hasn't been replying to things, and there seems to be some sketchy stuff going on, so don't give him any money. He's kind of ghosted me. I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. And that went on for a couple days, I feel like.
Oh, 2 days.
And then he did come back and essentially make a post saying, hey, I have talked to him. Sounds like we're getting things worked out. It was much more positive than all of that. That's honestly all I know. I know truly nothing more than you guys. It would be great to talk to Nate. Maybe that'll be a reminder this week. And whatever he can share with me, I'll be happy to report back or spread the word. But I can't say that I know anything more than you guys do about the scenario. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. I want to make sure I got it all dialed so I can do that to Johnny, whatever the case is. So if there's a way that I can make out with some podcast money and then split, count me in. So it's really more of a blueprint and a working theory for me than anything, but I'll make sure to report back when it's too late for Johnny to know.
The 37 cents that we profit on this, Terry, will be well worth it.
Pick is Drew Gibson, Kyle Klein. You guys are talking about various. Tatar wins Worlds. Obviously has the skill set. Will she have the health and everything else to do so? We shall see. High Roller says I unsub for pickleball talk because I have to draw the line. I will say when I saw everybody at Culver's earlier today, I think I was talking to Vinny and Madison. I said, all right, what's the plan the rest of the afternoon? You guys got to round it at Northwood. Now what? Pickleball. That was the answer. I was like, all right, get at it. David John says, personally, besides the place of play and competition, then how can you expect Niko to act differently? They fight in hockey. I don't know if you're getting off on a totally different tangent. I don't feel like it's fair. I'll just quickly say it's not fair for us to then start comparing us to all the other sports. Yeah, they like openly fight in hockey. I mean, what other
and the officials are paid big money in other sports.
Yeah, like, and like, there's just it's not fair to compare us. And if so, I always do think of like, well, so we do want to be like this other sport, or we don't. Do we want to follow them for this, but not for that? I, yeah, I don't think, you know what, if Niko talked to a cop that way, things would have went different. And if Niko talked to a judge that way, things could have went different. And if he talked to a second grade or a elementary school principal, things would have went, like, clearly it's all contextual. Like, I don't understand that argument at all. Yes, different sports handle things very differently. Um, you also see players in the or players, sorry, you see fighters in the MMA press conferences get in each other's face and sometimes throw fists at one another. Okay, so we're just going to normalize that. Let's see how tomorrow's press conference goes. I mean, it's just not fair to instantly start comparing us to every other sport for that way. Ray says, Terry, are you going to do any live streams after MPO rounds wrap up and you get back to the hotel? That's very much on the table. More of this, which would be on the Disc Golf Guy channel. There is a chance of that nightly. I did talk to Calvin / Zach Melton. They're unfortunately staying quite a ways away from me, but Zach Melton you guys need to pester him. He is very adamant on the idea of doing a nightly show and co-hosting with me. And I can't think of things that would be much more fun than that. I mean, Johnny maybe, but Zach Melton in studio in my hotel room, co-hosting a nightly podcast to wrap up the day's action. I do think that could be a lot of fun. So don't hold your breath, but it could be fun.
All right, Terry. Important question. What is your go-to Culver's order? Like if you had to take an assumption, like,
I'm so basic.
When you go to Culver's, what is your most frequent order?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm super basic when it comes to Culver's. I usually a double Butterburger with like Swiss cheese, ketchup, mustard, extra pickle. I'm too cheap to spring for the cheese curds, so I usually just go with the fries that are part of that basket. And usually I'm too cheap to spring for, nor do the calories aren't needed. So I will not go with a concrete mixer, which is like an Oreo shaker malt. Not Oreo, sorry, a Dairy Queen shaker malt.
That's more,
the mixers are like a Blizzard. I'm sorry. Yeah. So Culver's is famous for their custard concrete mixers, which are just like Blizzards from Dairy Queen, if you're familiar. And I'm usually too cheap to spring for one of those, so I'll just get a regular fountain beverage, which lately has been more often than not lemonade, but sometimes I mix it up. So double Butterburger with cheese and fries, and then if I'm feeling really feisty, then I sometimes will upgrade to the cheese curds, and sometimes I'll get a concrete mixer.
See, I don't get
something that has peanut butter in it.
I don't get the mixer usually. I'll just go with a malt, but very similar. Double Butterburger with cheese, cheese curds, and a malt.
Yeah. Extra thick, extra malty malt is usually what I would go with before I'd go with a mixer.
Here's my hot take. Culver's fries and curds are not very good. Neither of them. I love the burgers.
Yeah, I mean that's wrong. No, that's wrong.
Their sides, their fries are almost too potatoey, and their curds sometimes just taste off. They just every once in a while I get a good batch, and I'll keep trying them. I will keep eating them because a bad cheese curd.
You gotta give them another chance.
A bad cheese curd is better than a lot of things. I just don't love them. There are so many better cheese curds in the state of Wisconsin than those.
I agree.
And those are just, I feel like those are just mediocre.
Yeah. Tim, you're a man of my own heart there. He says, I love their crinkle fries and high roller disc is wrong. Who follows up with and says, yes, the fries are garbo, as in garbage. So if that doesn't summarize everything right there, the two conflicting responses. But yes, Tim, I agree with you. I do like their fries, and you're right. Their cheese curds are very hit or miss, more often than not miss than hit. Hence, I feel comfortable not upgrading to them because they're expensive and they're just not nearly as good as they should be. So I can agree with you there, but I do like their fries. I like soft, thick, soft fries. I'll take them. Double cheeseburger at the Spot in Kenosha is for dinner tomorrow. I love that, Dan. I wish, yeah, that's a good place to go for sure. David John says, when do you fly into Samui this year? Fly into USM, which is the Samui airport. Gas prices, so do not take the Surat Barani and the boat. It's a waste of time. I couldn't agree with you more, David John. When I come to Samui, I will be flying probably into Bangkok, and then Bangkok over to USM. I will fly right on the island. I just have to say this as a traveler, and I'm sure this happens in other tropical, beautiful locations and vacation spots that I'll never go to. When you fly into the Koh Samui Airport, which is an island of Thailand, their second or third largest island, and you're there for the event and everything else, you fly into an airport that literally doesn't have walls. Like, just think about that for a moment. There's not walls. It's an open air airport. And some of you are going to be like, duh, this wait is in Punta Cana or some other place I'll never go to because it doesn't have disc golf. But there's nothing like flying into an airport that's so tropical and so nice that they literally don't have walls to it. And it's just straw and other things that make up what looks like a pavilion. So it's a unique experience for sure. Has World's booth been announced? Danny asks. Yes. Maybe?
I think it's the same
I'm not
crew
in
as
it.
last year for MPO, right?
No, I don't. Well, maybe for MPO. I think it's Nate Doss, Philo, and Ian.
I think so.
No, maybe Philo's not in there. It's
Well,
Nate, Ian.
Let me look.
Well, yeah, I could look. You could look. It's Nate, Ian, and then is it Brian Earhart?
I think it's
Philo?
and now, granted, this is tentative. Don't quote us on this.
Yeah, this is unofficial.
This is unofficial, but I believe you're looking at no Philo, and I think you have Earhart instead.
Yes.
So I think it's Ian, Doss, and Earhart. I believe that's the tentative schedule,
right.
but and you are
and I am in
on course.
The field.
Probably. You're in a field, all right.
Yes. So I have to ask Ryan Pilcher, who's on the board as usual. Ryan, where are you? Silly, why aren't we getting together? You're down here, right, in the area? He's saying that the
High Roller says
Five Guys fries are trash, and he's wrong.
No, Five Guys fries are all right.
Especially the Cajun ones.
I've never had the Cajun ones. The regular ones are decent. They're pretty good. But then High Roller says making fries sucks. Eating them is cool though. Anyone that's worked at a fast food joint can attest to that, including myself. It was my very first job. Worked at a place called Hanette's in Appleton. It was more or less a family-owned kind of Culver's place, custard and burgers. And I hated making fries because it was dirty, stinky. And I remember I literally worked there for 2 weeks before I was fed up with working in fast food. And I quite promptly got a job at Best Buy where I worked the rest of my high school. But I remember getting out of that establishment after hours and my car would stink like fryer.
Yeah.
And I would stink like fryer. And I did not enjoy it. And just, it was not my thing. And I knew that after, when I applied, they were like, cool, you're hired. Can you wear a paper hat and a pink bow tie and a pink apron and a white shirt? You're hired, son. I was like, cool, I got a job. And then very quickly I went, oh, this job sucks.
Yeah, I don't know. All right. Ryan, you say you're out by Eureka. Well, we should hang out. I'm over in, I'm going to tell everybody, I'm in East Peoria area. JVD part of the Geek Squad. No, they really didn't. Did we
No,
have
that-
the Geek Squad yet?
that did
there
not
was just a computer
exist.
department.
That did not
No,
exist.
that was pre.
They did have like a small. They had a repair area, and they did have an area for computer repairs, but there was nothing called the Geek Squad at that point. I think that came in the very late 90s or maybe early 2000s was the Geek Squad. By then, I was out of Best Buy. I think my last year was 97 or something along those lines. But I remember thinking, looking at the prices at the time, it was to install RAM and memory. It was like $130. And I remember thinking, going, they pop open the case and they push this thing into it. Because that's what memory is. You literally pop, pop, and that's it. That's it. And I was like, wow, they paid $120 for that. Ridiculous. But there was no actual Geek Squad. And I did not do any of the computer stuff at the time. I was into computers, but not like I am or became. I started as a cashier, and then I went to customer service. Then I became a customer service senior. I was the youngest at the time. I was told I was the youngest customer service senior in the company because I was like just under 17, I think, which meant senior meant that I got to close the store, count up all the money. You know, I remember sitting there at Christmas time holding, it was like $200,000 in cash. And because a lot of people paid in cash and credit cards, a little bit, some checks, but just thinking like, oh my God, I've never imagined this much money in my life. I don't know if I've ever held more money in my life ever since then, but other than maybe a check for something, technically, when you sell your house and have to immediately hand it over to buy your next house.
Doesn't feel the same.
It's not the same as holding 200,000. And then from there, I went to the music department, and then I moved over to the video department, and I dabbled in a couple other ones to help out, but I think I ended my career in the video department.
And meanwhile, I worked at the same Best Buy, came in a few months later, and ultimately worked in the home and car stereo departments. They were kind of one and the same. If you got hired for one, you were kind of hired for both. And so I worked in the car and home audio departments. Oh, back store 027. Good old
Best Buy 027.
Appleton Best Buy.
District 003.
Those were the days. Yeah, those were the days. So...
do you remember your employee number?
All right, guys.
You probably don't remember your employee number.
Actually, I don't remember. I think I remember the SKU for a Sony Walkman, though, or for a Sony Discman, because we sold so many of those along with the extended warranty, and you always had to write down the SKU for it. So that I think I could probably piece together if I thought about it, but I don't remember. That's funny. I don't even remember my employee ID. How many letters was it? Numbers?
Mine was 5. It was 57066, and I only remember it because you had to enter it in. Had to enter it in for every transaction I did on the register. So every transaction started with
like a million of them. Yeah.
So I put it in a million times. But
and that's funny. I definitely don't. If somebody said it, I'd recall it, but I do not remember what
which I would assume means I was like the 57,000th employee at Best Buy-ish. 57066, around there.
Mid 90s.
Yeah.
Possibly. All right. Well, I think we're going to call it. I'm sure I'll see some of you tomorrow night, Wednesday night. Oh, you got a drawing. So what, you got that lined up?
I was going to say we can do this next week when you're back here.
Okay.
We've got a disc member disc store box right here. We'll be giving that away next week. Want to thank Disc Member for their constant support of Smashbox TV. And if we don't do commercials on this show.
I know,
we're not above them. Let me put it that way. So if you
reach out to Nate's producer, reach out to Nate Sexton's producer, though. If you'd like to.
Reach out to me privately and send me money.
No. Send me the message.
No, but if you're interested in supporting Smashbox, reach out to us. We might be able to work something out in general. But we tend not to do too many commercials.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? We don't do any real commercials.
Spock asks, is it just the box or the contents as well? That's the surprise.
Oh.
Now you're thinking there, Spock. I like it. Thinking outside
we
the box.
very much have
literally.
appreciated a few of the people that have supported us throughout the years. Obviously, Miles over at Paragon and Disc Baron has supported us, and all of our super chatters, that have broken fingers, have supported us throughout the years, honestly, and outstanding Patreon supporters like your Dan Harbacks, and then hundreds of others. We do seriously appreciate all of you guys. But yeah, we are largely commercial free. They're just like, yeah. But when you guys ramble about blah blah blah, that's when I go to the bathroom anyway. It's better than a commercial, so because you're long winded. So, but we do thank you guys for tuning in and week out. Especially when you're downloading it and you're listening as you're traveling across country. Hannah Macbeth told me the other day that she was getting caught up. She was saving up a few episodes. She had an 11-hour drive. I'm like, okay, that's like three shows. And she definitely wanted to call you out. And I would wait for her normally to just join the show, but she wanted to call you out on how terrible your, she goes, why are more people not talking about how terrible Kix cereal is? And when Johnny listed that as one of his favorites,
I didn't list it as one of my
appalled.
favorites. I say I eat it a lot because it's in the house. My daughter eats it, so it's in the house. It's usually Kix and Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I would never did I say it was one of my favorites. I just say it is eaten a lot.
I think we lost her as a subscriber. I told her, I'm like, I don't know how you can ever take anything he ever says seriously when he tells you that he eats Kix. And she's like, I know.
It's not that bad of a cereal. It's just a little bland. And you know what the secret is? You know what the secret is to Kix?
Cardboard just needs some salt and pepper.
No. You take a little bit of granulated sugar and you just sprinkle it on the top. The same thing you do with Cheerios, plain Cheerios. Gives it a little bit extra flavor, and it works out. Then it becomes one of the sugar cereals. No, I never said it was one of my favorites. I like. You know what the worst bang for your buck, but a really great cereal? Honeycomb. Just giant boxes, but the honeycombs are so big that you only get like 2 or 3 bowls because they're so big. Like it's mostly air in that box, but it's tasty, man. It's tasty.
Okay. Well, speaking of tasty, I'm going to find myself another barrel-aged stout here in a moment. So thank you guys for joining us. We're looking forward to a great week. Watch the Fierce documentary if you're so inclined. Even if you're not, watch it anyway. But seriously, we will be talking about it, I'm sure, more next week. We'll also have that Q&A session with her tomorrow night. So if that suits your fancy, the Disc Golf Guy channel might have more stuff throughout the week. Tune in, be ready. I don't know. We all know anything's possible out here. But Johnny, I will see you in a few days, and I'm sure we'll be talking more disc golf when we do so. So that is all for Johnny V. I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. That's been Smashbox TV's after show on 415. We're at the Ledgestone. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.